In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to create, I'm not exactly sure what I would call it. I call it an upside down heart earring. Well, I'm going to make a pair of earrings, and in my opinion, they look like an upside down heart. So here we go. Here's what we do. You start with a 6-inch length of wire. Make sure it's exactly 6 inches long. Since the earrings come usually in pairs, you want to make, since it's a wire wrap earring, you want to make both sides, both halves at the same time. So here I cut 2 lengths of 6-inch wire. The other ingredient for this earring is a simple coil. Now there are a variety of ways to create a coil. In this case, I'm going to just use my round nose pliers, and I'm going to do a wrap around the top of the round nose plier. Okay, two times around, that's good. Now I'll trim off the excess. These pliers have seen better days. I need a new pair of pliers. They're not cutting the way I'd like them to. Cut off that. The tips got a little damaged. Okay, there we go. There's our coil. Let's see. Hold it up to the camera. Am I out of focus? Yeah, I'm out of focus. There we go. There's the coil. Now, for the coil, you could always substitute a nice wooden bead or a bead with a large hole in it so it can fit over what we're about to make. The coil is the simplest. Not the most decorative, but it's functional. We need 2. So let me do that again. Take my round nose plier. Make sure the opening is relatively large because we've got to thread 2 pieces of wire through this. And wrap it around enough to give me 2 full wraps. Now I'll trim off the excess. And there we have it. Coil number 2. These barely qualify as coils. They look more like jump rings with an extra loop, but we'll call them coils. And as I said, you could always use a nice bead. In fact, I think I want to make a pair in sterling silver wire like you see here, only with the wooden bead in the middle. I think that would be really nice. So what are we doing? The next step to make these upside down heart earrings is to take your wire and bend it in half. 6 inches of wire, exactly 6 inches. I'm bending it in half. Take my other length. Now keep in mind, I said this at the very beginning, you're working on a pair. What I like to do when I make wire wrap earrings is I work on both halves at the same time. This way I'm able to match up every step. That is a mirror image of that. That is a mirror image of that. Ultimately, the end product will be very consistent. One side will match the other side. If you make one side to completion, then attempt to begin the other side and work that to completion, they're not going to all look the same. So the important thing to do is to repeat each step. You go through step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you wind up with a successful piece of jewelry. Now the next step is to take your wire that's been bent in half, take your round nose plier, and not a big hoop, keep it towards the tip, You want to take your flat nose, you're holding it securely with your round nose, you want to take your flat nose and crimp that tip of the wire. Okay. This is familiar. You've done something very similar in the Egyptian link. Now I'm going to repeat the step, making sure that what I'm going to create here is a mirror image of what I just did on the other one. Beautiful. All right. So at this point we have our 6-inch wire bent in half with 2 loops created on the top parts. Now you're going to take the coil that you made and you're going to slide it onto the bent wire. So now we've just placed the coil. Same thing with the other one. You're going to take the coil, slide it onto the wire. Now when I look at the wire, the ends, actually they're close enough for me that I don't mind the slight variation in length. But if you want to make it look more exact, you can trim that right there. Now they're exact. And the same thing here. I'm going to take it and get rid of any discrepancy. Trim them to the same length. I didn't take much off. You know, I took a fraction of an inch, not even a 16th. But they're equal. What I also like to do, I don't have any sandpaper here with me right now, but since this is sterling silver, it's nice to really finesse the job. I'll take a piece of sterling silver wire that I bent like this and rub it on sandpaper to create a nice flat top to the ends, rather than, you can see a little angle from the action of the cutters. Like to flatten it out nicely. It's one of those finishing details that enhances the overall look of the piece. Next step is to take what you've assembled. Take your flat nose plier and hold the tip of that just like so. Now you're going to grab it and you're going to have to practice this. I don't know how to verbalize how to do this. Watch the video and you just work at it. You will get it. I'm turning my plier and I'm guiding it with my left hand. I'm not bending the wire with my left hand. The actual bending of the wire is being done with my right hand. Watch carefully. See what I'm doing? I'm spiraling the wire around the tip of my pliers, and I'm just about finished. That's perfect. Right about that point I stop. Now what I tell my students in class is to imagine when they're doing this that the plier is the epicenter upon which the wire is going to orbit around.